There are moments in life when the map you trusted quietly burns at the edges, when the road you once walked with confidence folds into fog, and no matter how hard you try to move forward, each step only circles you back to yourself. This story is about one of those moments. It's about the quiet courage it takes to stop running, to let purpose find you instead of forcing it into being. Because sometimes the greatest journeys are not the ones that take you far away, but the ones that take you home. In a small coastal town where dawn smelled of salt and coffee, there lived a man named Amir. And for most of his life, he believed that meaning was something you built, one achievement at a time. The town of Miragan was small enough to hear the ocean breathe. Waves came in slow conversations, brushing against wooden docks where fishermen mended nets and time stretched like the tide. Into this quiet rhythm walked Amir, a traveler with worn boots and a journal full of destinations. He carried himself with the quiet certainty of someone who believed that purpose was productivity, and peace was earned through motion. He had spent years crossing borders, collecting stories, and achieving goals that impressed others but hollowed him out. When applause faded, a silence always followed, one that no city, no mountain, no crowd could fill. When he arrived in Mirajan, he told himself this was the place he would fix that silence. He bought a small, forgotten café by the water, its roof sagging, its windows gray. He saw in it a reflection of himself, tired, cracked, but waiting to be restored. Every morning he swept floors, painted walls, and brewed dreams into reality. The townsfolk began to notice that traveler. They'd whisper, "He's turning that old place into something beautiful." And in their admiration, Amir found something he'd been craving, proof that he mattered. He thought purpose meant to build, to achieve, to leave a mark. What he didn't know was that this beginning was simply the first step into unraveling everything he thought he knew about meaning. The days in Mirajan began to hum with quiet movement. The old café by the bay, once gray and forgotten, began to bloom under Amir's hands. He replaced the broken windows with clear glass that let the sunrise in the walls, painted a calm shade of sand, reflected the early light like still water. He named it the Compass Café. Each morning he stood behind the counter, sleeves rolled up, greeting the fishermen and travelers who passed through. The aroma of fresh coffee filled the air, mixing with sea salt and laughter. The café became a story. Amir's story. He hosted travel journals, started writing essays about purpose and direction, and soon people began to come not just for coffee, but for him. He believed he had found it, that elusive, shining thing called purpose. And yet, beneath his confidence, a quiet unease pulsed. His worth still depended on the smiles of strangers and the praise of headlines. By midsummer, the Compass Café had become a small landmark. A local paper called him the traveler who found meaning by the sea. He read it twice and smiled. But that night, as the waves whispered outside, a thought passed through him like a shadow. What happens when this too fades? He ignored it, mistaking fear for excitement. Standing on the porch, he looked at the glowing sign and whispered, "This is it. I've arrived." But purpose is not a destination. It is a tide, and tides always change. It began quietly, as most endings do. First, a storm. Rain swept through the town for 3 days, flooding his back storage room. The coffee beans he'd imported from across the sea were ruined. Then, delays, shortages, cancellations. Amir stayed up nights trying to save what he could. "Just a setback," he muttered. "Discipline will fix it." But the second blow wasn't from nature. It was human. Elias, His partner and closest friend vanished one morning along with months of savings. The cafe's accounts were empty. The trust Amir had built on ambition and belief shattered overnight. The betrayal left him hollow. He stared at the empty tables, at the quiet machines, at the notes of gratitude pinned to the walls. Now, ghosts of better days. The town whispered, he built too fast. He should have seen it coming. Every rumor felt like a pebble thrown against glass. The image of the confident traveler began to crack. He tried to keep the cafe open, tried to smile through the ache, but every cup of coffee tasted like memory. Every compliment felt like pity. One evening he walked to the pier and stared into the dark horizon. I thought I knew what purpose meant, he whispered to the sea, but maybe all I've known is how to chase it. The ocean didn't answer. It only breathed, steady, eternal, indifferent. And somewhere inside that silence, something in him began to break. Amir refused to let go. He told himself every failure was just a test of endurance. So he swept the floors again, repainted the walls again, reopened the doors to a cafe no one entered. He worked until dawn, convinced that effort could erase loss. The exhaustion carved shadows beneath his eyes, but he called it commitment. Each day became a ritual of repetition, not for creation, but control. He feared stillness more than failure. Because stillness meant facing the truth, that he didn't know who he was without this dream. He scribbled affirmations on napkins. Persistence is proof. Purpose never quits. Keep building. But deep down, he wasn't building anymore. He was hiding behind the sound of his own effort. The town watched in silence. Some pitied him. Others avoided his gaze. The once inspiring traveler had become a man lost in his own creation. One afternoon, while repainting a wall for the fourth time, his brush slipped, leaving a jagged streak across the smooth surface. He stared at it, at the imperfection, at his shaking hands, and something cracked. He dropped the brush, sank to the floor, and for the first time in years, stopped moving. And in that unbearable quiet, he understood. He had built his purpose like a prison, beautiful, admired, but locked from the inside. The next morning, he wandered aimlessly through Mirajan. That's when he saw her. An elderly woman kneeling in the town garden, hands buried in the soil. Her straw hat shaded her wrinkled face as she hummed softly to herself. When she noticed him lingering, she said without looking up, "You walk like someone carrying stones in his chest." The words landed gently, yet deeply. "I used to have a cafe," Amir said. "Used to." She smiled faintly. "And now you have time," she replied as if that were a blessing. Her name was Marin. She came every morning to tend the garden, pruning, watering, waiting. Amir began to visit too, at first out of curiosity, then out of quiet need. He'd help her dig, clumsily at first, feeling foolish. "Why do you do this every day?" he asked. She shrugged. "Because things grow slowly when they're meant to last." He frowned. "And what if you never see them bloom?" She looked up and smiled. "Then I'll know they're blooming somewhere." The simplicity of it disarmed him. For months, Amir had fought the impermanence of things, and here was a woman who embraced it like an old friend. When he left that day, he didn't rush for the first time. His steps were light, unburdened by destination. A seed had been planted, not in the soil, but in his heart. The days grew slower, softer. Amir stopped opening the cafe each morning. Instead, he met Marin at dawn, helping her tend the garden. The air smelled of salt and new beginnings. His hands, once made for work and precision, learned the patience of soil. Each morning began with watering. Each evening ended with stillness. He started to see beauty in the unseen, roots growing quietly beneath the earth. Marin rarely spoke of healing, yet everything she did was a lesson. One morning, as they watered the new bed of flowers, she said, "You don't have to fix everything, Amir. Some things need to stay broken so the light can enter." He didn't answer, but the words sank deep. That afternoon, he returned to the Compass Café. Dust had gathered on every surface. He didn't clean it right away. He just stood there, breathing it in. Instead of reopening it for business, he began to restore it gently, one chair, one window, one moment at a time. Not out of pride, but gratitude. The work was slower now, softer. Each task done without ambition, without expectation. Healing had begun, not in triumph, but in the simple grace of staying. By spring, the garden was alive, imperfect and radiant. Flowers leaned unevenly toward the sun, and yet together they were beautiful. The cafe reopened, but differently. A few tables, a few visitors, a single guitar resting in the corner. Amir renamed it the Compass Still. Travelers came again, but this time Amir didn't tell them about finding purpose. He asked about theirs. He listened. Marin sat by the window each morning, sipping tea. "You found your rhythm," she said one day. Amir smiled. "No," he replied softly. "I've stopped chasing it." The town no longer saw him as the man who failed, but as the one who endured. He began teaching children how to plant herbs by the cafe window, explaining that everything, including people, grows with care and patience. Peace had returned, not loud, not dramatic, just steady. The cafe no longer defined him, it reflected him. One evening, as the sun spilled gold over the waves, Amir placed a small sign outside his door. It read, "For travelers who've forgotten where they're going, may you rest here and remember that being is enough." The wind fluttered the paper gently, and for the first time, Amir felt entirely still and completely alive. There are stories that end with fireworks. This isn't one of them. This is the kind that ends quietly, with a man watching the tide, a garden in bloom, and a life rebuilt from the inside out. Amir's story isn't about success or failure. It's about the slow, human art of remembering what truly matters. Because purpose, you see, is not a finish line. It's a way of walking, so if you too feel lost, if the path ahead seems uncertain, remember Amir, the traveler who stopped chasing the horizon and found peace in standing still. Because sometimes the gentle power of purpose is not about finding more to do, but learning how to be. And maybe, just maybe, that's where your own story begins.